addict, teen parent, high school dropout, prisoner, and dead. These are all the titles that await our kids if we as fathers and as men do not step up to the plate. In a study done by Stephen L. Knock and Christopher J. Einoff entitled The $100 Billion Man, it states that between 1960 and 2006, the number of children living in single mother homes went from 8 to 23.3%, and that children living away from their biological fathers were at 34%. Now, what does this all mean? Does it spell disaster for our families? Does these numbers mean that all hope for our families are gone? Not at all. But it does mean that we have a lot of work to do. In other words, we have to get back to basics. We have to get back to the time when family was all we had. A time where a village helped raise a child and not a single mother. And this is not a knock on any single mothers raising their kids. I just feel that they should not have to do it alone. If we truly want the family system to survive, then our only choice is to get back to basics. Somewhere along the way, we have lost our sense of direction. So in an attempt, together, let's take a step towards getting back to the basics. And getting back to basics for me is getting back to the love. Getting back to the point where family decided your status and not the amount of money you had. Over the years, we have placed so much emphasis on the amount of money we can accumulate or grow that we have lost focus on how much our family is growing. And it's time we get our families back. So with that in mind, we'll cover only a few aspects of what I feel will help us get back to the basics. For starters, why don't we take a quick look at the love portion. As fathers, what are ways we can show love towards our children? How can we as fathers be 100% sure that our kids know that we love them? Could it be possibly the yearly trips to Disneyland? Or what about the occasional shopping sprees to the local toy stores? When the topic of love or supporting our kids arises, finances and how much we put in seems to always be in the forefront. When did money determine the amount of love we showered upon our kids? Love does not equal money. Money is just that, money. Money can buy you things, but it cannot buy your kids. I do not care how many video games you buy your son. I do not care how many Barbie dolls you buy your daughter. You have to understand your kids cannot be bought. Get it through your head now. No matter how much money you have, it will not buy out your children's heart. Our kids deserve more than that. Our kids deserve real love from the heart and not our wallets. It's the time we spend, the talks we have, the simple fact that we are not afraid to show our kids any type of affection. Our children need to know that we love them simply for who they are. Do we even know who our kids are? Do we know what our kids like to do? A simple thing like, what do they enjoy eating? Let me tell you a quick story. I've written 2 books, a screenplay, numerous articles, and with me, ideas can come to me at any time of the day. I would sit at my computer for hours on end, and my wife would come to me and she'd tell me something about what my 2-year-old son did today. And I wasn't really paying any attention to her. So I would just tell her, yeah, I seen him do that already. Just kind of brush her off to the side. But as she walked away, I thought to myself, I wonder how much of my child's life was I missing out on. When my son was born, I had taken so much pride in having the opportunity to raise a son. But now he's 2 years old, and I could not relate with my wife about our sons growing up. I could not believe there were parts about my son that I really did not know. I was so busy doing my writing that I was missing out on milestone after milestone. And this brings me to another point that I would like to make. Has anyone missed out on some part of their child's life all because they were too busy? And when I say busy, I am not speaking of our regular 9 to 5s. I'm talking about all the extra work we choose to do. You know, the work that we decided for some reason to put before our kids. Well, the time is now for us to make the time for our kids. The times have changed. These days, our kids are being forced to grow up in their own personal war zones. How can we expect them to go to battle on a daily basis if we do not provide them with the skills needed to fight? Think with me for a second. How could a child of 10 or 11, or even 12 for that matter, compete against the level of peer pressure that has evolved today? Children of middle school age are having sex, they're experimenting with drugs, they see more violence on the streets they're raised on than they do while watching television. These kids need their fathers now more than ever. These kids need us, all of us. They need the kind of love that only their fathers can provide. And I would like to commend right now all those that are doing the right thing. But to those fathers that are not, right now is the best time to start. Your child should know that you love them. Another thing they should know is that you love their mother. If you're married, are you showing your wife your love? As married fathers, it's important to be romantic with our wives. Our kids should see that firsthand. Our kids should see that their mom and dad are the perfect teammates and not brutal enemies. And this also rings true if you and the mother are not together. In a perfect world, every child's parent would be married, but we're not in a perfect world. So how can we provide that teamwork parenting if the parents are not together? And it's simple, by love. Now, this sort of love is based on respect and not romance. Even though not together romantically, the mother and father can be on one accord for the child. Teamwork is still necessary in this sort of situation. In any situation, whether the parents are together or not, the children should never see any type of discord in the teamwork. It will always be important for both mother and father to get along. Your child's life depends on it. And one final note about love, which to me is an important factor when considering a relationship between the father and child, and in my opinion, can prove to have a lasting effect on a child's life. When was the last time you actually told your child that you love them? When was the last time you actually told your child how much you cared for them? And I mean letting them know from the heart. We have to be sincere with our kids. They need to know that their parents, and most of all their fathers, truly do love them and have a true desire to be a part of their lives. One day I was watching the videos on YouTube, and I came across this video from Facing the Giants. Some of you probably heard of it. It was a story about a football coach and his high school team. But in this particular video, the team was worried about their next game against a cross-city rival. The players worried that they would not be strong enough and that the other team would capitalize on their shortcomings. Of course, the coach thought it was ridiculous and decided to prove his point. He had the team captain, the boy that the others looked up to for leadership. He had him get down on all four, and the coach had another boy climb on his back. The captain was told to crawl to the 50-yard line. The captain begins to crawl, and the coach is encouraging the captain to fight on through his obvious pains. The captain complains about not being able to finish and about how his strength is failing. But the coach makes him keep going. And when the captain reaches his destination, he looks around and the coach alerts him to the fact that he made it all the way to the end zone. The captain carried his 160-pound teammate 100 yards on his back. The captain showed himself and his team that all the strength they needed was already within. Now, how do we as fathers and as grandfathers make our children recognize what lies within them? Some can say mentorship, some can say through coaching. But whatever term you use, the outcome should always be the same. For the sake of time, let's use the term mentoring. All of us here are here today because someone took on the job of serving as our mentor. One part of our responsibilities as fathers is to serve in the capacity